Hey there, my name's Kevin, and welcome to the channel. This is my first video for this channel, so it's going to be a little rough. I haven't gotten everything dialed in yet here. Uh, I've dabbled in YouTube and a couple other channels before, um, and we'll see how this goes. So this is going to be about AI and my AI journey. Some of my friends who know me might be doing backflips right now and going completely spazzo because they know that, for the last 3 years I've been an AI skeptic, and that is so I'm a little bit behind in here in the year 2026. I haven't been following AI as much as my friends. I tend to be more of a late adopter of technology, I suppose you could say. People have told me that before. And I think maybe the reason why I'm a late adopter of technology is because I'm a bit of a slow starter on projects, and it takes me a long time to kind of learn something. I don't like to be blown around like a leaf in the wind, right? I don't like to chase the next shiny object, and you never really know what things are going to take off and what things aren't. So I tend to like to let things settle down a little bit. And probably that was a mistake with AI. I should have been on the bandwagon sooner. But I'm here now and learning AI and sharing my journey. I was watching another YouTube channel that kind of gave me some inspiration, where he said, "Hey, you should just build stuff and share it. Just do stuff, do things of value, and share it with the world." And you know, that's the way to have a successful YouTube channel. And that made sense to me. And so that's kind of what I'm going to do here on this channel. Um, like I said, this is my first video, so it's going to be a little rough. I don't have my lights here. My office is all set up to do the YouTube over there on that computer, where I've got a wall here and a accent light and things like that. But I do my programming on this computer because I have my three monitors, and because I have three monitors, I don't have the place to put the lights. So the idea is I do the programming here and I do the YouTube over there, which works out good, except what happens when I want to do a YouTube video about programming, then uh, or I do stuff on here that's not over there on that computer. So anyways, you'll have to bear with me a little bit as I get this dialed in, and I don't look as good as I could otherwise. So it's my first video, so um, you got to kind of give me some space here. But anyways, what I wanted to do is show off something I've been building with AI and kind of talk about how I built it in other videos. And so what I did is I was kind of following this idea of, just build something. With AI, the thing about AI is that things that were impossible to do before, or would have been so expensive to do before, or so time consuming to do before, you can now just do them. And so anything that annoys you, if you're using a tool and that tool annoys the crap out of you, and you think you could do a lot better, you you can just do it. And maybe some people will be interested, and if no one else is interested in it, it doesn't matter because it didn't cost hardly. It's not free. AI is not free. You have to pay for tokens, but still, compared to the cost of hiring a developer and paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year or whatever, it's uh, going to be practically free. Okay, so I started doing that for myself, and since I also have a bookkeeping practice now, and so I started thinking about what do I need in my bookkeeping practice that's driving me crazy, and what's something I can do that's small enough that I can play with AI and uh, and produce some kind of result that is within reason that wouldn't take me years to do. And so I started thinking about that in my life, and I thought, a file browser, right? On Mac, we have Finder. On Windows, we have Windows Explorer. And on Linux, we have um, Nautilus or Cosmic Browser or whatever you're using on whatever Linux distribution you have, the file browser. And I thought that I've never liked the file browsers, and I wanted to write my own file browser, right? Why not? I think I could do better. So I started thinking about it, and the idea was to do for file browsers what VS Code did for text editors, right? Make it an Electron app. Okay, Electron, the good thing about Electron, it's not native, but it's cross-platform, it's HTML based. It's got really good built-in rendering and everything for rendering PDF files and rendering images and all that stuff. Um, so make an Electron app. Discord is Electron, Slack is Electron, VS Code is Electron, Claude Desktop is Electron, Codex Desktop is Electron app. All these things that we're using now are Electron apps, and I thought, well, I'll make an Electron app. Electron is for those that aren't technical, Electron is a cross-platform environment for building applications using browser technologies, HTML and JavaScript. The things that kind of you can do in a browser, you can do in Electron and make it, make an installable native desktop app instead of a browser-based thing. So that's what I started doing. So, okay, I've talked enough. Let's look at what I've built here so far. Now, this is like maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 days, calendar days, and in those calendar days, it's maybe total amount of time I've got into this so far. I don't know, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours of me actually sitting there prompting. And probably most of those 5 hours is me just sitting there waiting for Claude Code to do what it's doing. And so let's just look at the application here. It's a file browser, and it's got some nice features to it. It doesn't do copying. It's for navigating. Okay, it's for navigating and reading your documents. It doesn't have copies and moves and things like that, like Finder has. Okay, so you can see here that what I have is the concept of a domain, which I'll talk about here in a second. And in a domain, you can add shortcuts basically to the domain. Now these aren't operating system shortcuts. Okay, for those that don't know, the operating systems allow you to have shortcuts and to files, so you can create aliases. These are like shortcuts, but they don't live in the file system. Okay, they're managed by Wadsworth. Wadsworth is the code name for the tool I'm building. AI helped me come up with that name. I don't know if it will be the final name or if I'll rename it. It's kind of a code name right now. I mean, I kind of like it, Wadsworth. Wadsworth is the name of my dormitory that I lived in for 2 years in my freshman and sophomore years of college up in Michigan Technological University in Houghton, Michigan. And I lived in Wadsworth Hall. So Wadsworth, kind of like, I don't know, a dormitory. It's also the name of the butler in Clue. That's kind of where we came up with the name. It also just happened to be, since I picked Wadsworth, it happened to be the name of my college dormitory. So I don't know. I mean, I kind of like Wadsworth, but we'll see if that name sticks. Maybe there's some name conflict with something else out there that's already called Wadsworth, whatever. Okay, so anyways, I can create these shortcuts to folders that live outside of the operating system shortcut. So this is layered on top of the shortcuts. It doesn't clutter up your file system by creating these shortcuts within the file system itself. This lives outside of it. All right, and so I can navigate around here. I can create these sections here. So here's a section called General Links, a section called Businesses, a section called Projects, and a section called Clients. And I can I can add entries to, I can add these shortcut entries to each folder. I can drag and drop them around between things. All right. And so this just gives me a quick way to get to things. The way I was doing that, what frustrated me about other things is that most of my stuff is in Dropbox and most of the stuff is old and I don't use it at all. Okay, so there's only a few things in here that are really interesting that are kind of active, and I wanted to kind of surface the things that are active out to these shortcuts so I can get to the things that I use most often, kind of frequently. Now in Mac Finder, it's got something like that, but let's see what Mac Finder does. It's got these favorites, and you can put favorites in here, but you can't really have these customly named sections like that. So we'll talk about how this differs from Finder and Windows Explorer and Nautilus, uh, and as we go along here. But generally, I didn't like this at all, and I thought I could do better. And then, with Electron, I thought I could do for file browsing what VS Code did for text editing. And maybe eventually we'll have like, it'd be cool if we could have plugins and then extensions and plugins. And somebody already done this, I guess. I haven't heard of it. This is all going to be open source and free, okay? And not going to be subscription based. There's some stuff out there I think Pathfinder is one that's a replacement for Finder on a Mac, but that costs like $30 a year. This is all going to be free. All right. So I can create these shortcuts. Again, it's a little bit like these favorite locations here in Finder, but I can create separate sections and name each one. That's nice. Um, and then, so I've got my sections created here. All right. What else does it do? It's got a preview. So if I double click on this, it'll open up a PDF previewer in the other pane. This is a little bit buggy. This split pane you can drag left and right, but it's kind of buggy right now. I need to have AI fix that. So it can bring up PDF previews. It can preview any file. If there's in Mac, if there's a quick link for a quick look for it, it can preview that. Although it's not very good right now. Something like PDF, that's built right into Electron, so it can do that quicker. It can do that better because since it's browser based, it can do things that browsers can do, like view PDFs. Okay, so then I have businesses, or I've got this. I have a C corporation called Open Squiggly for that. I was doing something very similar to this, but it was cloud based, and it's kind of dormant right now. It's designed for software documentation, so but it's still an active corporation, and so I still have stuff to do, and I do file my taxes for it every year, even though it's just expenses. All right, Parade bookkeeping for my bookkeeping practice. All right, so these are businesses. So, this is the thing that it's nice to have this different separation of things like this. And then my projects. So for my bookkeeping business, I'm building my own custom practice management system. Let's close this down. And so I have my software folder for that. You can see this looks real nice, like these icons. I just had Claude Code do these icons for me, and it went out to VS Code, and apparently VS Code has a library of icons. I'm going to show all the prompts I did for to build Wadsworth. I'm going to show all the prompts I did. If you don't like Wadsworth, you can just build your own. That's the idea. I mean, it's going to be open source and free, and you can fork Wadsworth and modify it however you want, I guess. But you can also just build it from scratch with, and I'll show you the prompts I did to build it. It's Not very many prompts really, but I mean, it looks pretty good, right? These blue folder icons here and these curly brace icons for JSON and the C# icon for the C# files. I mean, it looks pretty good. All right, then I have my clients here. I probably shouldn't show that, but whatever. Hopefully nobody sues me for showing names of my clients. And then, so this here whole thing is what I call a domain. So all of these sections and links and everything, that's a domain. Well, what if I want to have I can have multiple domains. So, like for example, in the case of my bookkeeping practice, I haven't populated this yet, but in the case of Open Squiggly, the idea is that the domains allow you to focus your work, and it's more detailed. Like the shortcuts that you would put in one of your other domains would be more detailed than the ones you would put in your general workspace, right? So here I just have one link to my Open Squiggly folder in Dropbox. But if I go to my Open Squiggly domain, then I have more details. Like here I've got a link to my lawyer, Castor and Gravel is the lawyer I use for Open Squiggly. I haven't talked to them in a couple of years, so they probably think I died. And but anyways, they're still technically my lawyer, and then like my incorporation documents and my formation documents. See, I wouldn't put these links in my general workspace because if I did that, then it would start to clutter up my general workspace, and then it would start to be just as confusing as if I went to my Dropbox folder and I got a sea of crap like this, and I have to pick out what I'm looking for. So if I put all these details in the general workspace, it would get too cluttered. So the idea is that you can break this up into different domains. And then, so let's say I put my Open Squiggly hat on, I'm working on Open Squiggly, I can just click over to Open Squiggly, and now I'm in the Open Squiggly domain. See, and now I've got everything for Open Squiggly and none of the other stuff, so I don't get distracted, right? I got everything I need to do Open Squiggly stuff. I haven't put a link to, well, you can see I haven't cloned the Open Squiggly source code, but if I did, then I would put a development section in here and would have a link to the source code folder for that too. All right. So that's the idea with these domains. I won't cover all the settings here. There are some settings. You can display the domain as tabs or as a drop-down. So if I clear this, then the domains, instead of being tabs across the top and a tab ribbon, then they're a drop-down list like that. So that's something you can pick. And I like the tabs. And then you can go back and forth between light mode and dark mode, or you can match the system. Okay. I mean, it'd take me a long time to do all this stuff. If I had to write all this code myself, it would take me a really long time. So I've got light mode and dark mode. This is going to be downloadable and everything eventually. I can cover. I am going to open source this. It's a private repo right now. Today, this is May 14th, 2026, as I'm recording this. It's going to be open sourced, but I got to get the license file in there and stuff. Anyway, so you can see that basically I built this pretty nice file, it's not a full-blown replacement for Finder and File Explorer because it doesn't do copy and moves yet and create a new folder. It doesn't do those kind of things. But the idea is that I can zip around here really quickly. I've got keyboard navigation. I'll cover that in another video. And so it saves the state of all these things too. Like for example, notice how I have all these open and closed, all these folders open and closed the way I want them. And then if I change to another one and come back to it, it remembers it. That's one thing I don't like about Finder. I'm always bringing up Finder and then starting from scratch. I have to click, 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 click down to where I want to get to. Right? It drives me crazy. Probably I'm not using Finder in the best way possible, but most people probably aren't using Finder in the best way possible. But so I wanted to remember where I'm at. It's the thing. See, I wanted to remember where I'm at. and I want to be able to have keyboard navigation. I can get around really quickly. If I want to change to another domain, I can just go up, and then when I go up from there, it takes me up to the tab ribbon, and then I can just go across and then go back down. Say, I can go up, over, and back down. See, I'm doing this all from my keyboard. In fact, I'm not even using the arrow keys. I'm using the H, J, K, and L. It just kind of maps the Vim mapping. So it's kind of like Vim keyboard shortcuts. I'm just using the J and K buttons to go up and down here. Um, so that's what I'm building. I'll be making some videos about this. I'll show the prompts. I'm going to make this open source. It's going to be kind of a building public thing. Um, and there are some bugs in here. The splitter's buggy. I did get the splitter, the vertical splitter, when you move it back and forth with the drag and drop, it gets all confused. That's buggy. Um, so that's what it's looking like right now. And, I'm pretty happy with this. I can get my code preview. So when I'm browsing, I can see a preview of my text files, my source code files, and it does have syntax highlighting in them. It's starting, it's almost starting to be like VS Code like, in the sense that VS Code, the source code is centric, and the browser is kind of like, secondary to, it's about browsing your files, and the navigator is kind of secondary to that. Here it's like the reverse, where the browser is the primary thing and the source code is secondary, right? Like, so I'm primarily browsing my files, and then I can see and then showing the source code in syntax highlighted is sort of secondary, right? VS Code is kind of the reverse. The emphasis is on the source code. Uh, so, anyways, there's a lot of features here I haven't covered. You can go up and down and back and go to your home, and a lot of stuff like that. But anyways, this is my first video. Uh, Again, it's a little rough. Thanks for listening. But this is going to be a build in public thing, and I'll be refining this, making it open source, and you know, making it so you can download it and install it yourself and play with it, showing you all the prompts I did to build this, all the AI prompts I did to build this. So if you want to just build your own, you can just follow my prompts and build your own Wadsworth. Um, so thanks for listening. We'll cover a lot more in upcoming videos.